As much as it pains me to say it, I've got a tremendous amount of respect for the Green Bay Packers organization. 5 straight years of making the playoffs, 3 straight years of winning the NFC North. To me, they are clearly the cream of the crop in that division. Yes, even though it pains me to say it, it is the truth. The last time they didn't win a division title in the NFC North was the 2010 season when my Chicago Bears did. And wouldn't you know, that was the season that they ultimately ended up Super Bowl champions. And, the old saying about players don't win championships, organizations do, well, that's not entirely true. But let's face it, you have to have a great organization to put the great players in place in order to be able to be in a position to win championships. And that's exactly what the Green Bay Packers have done in recent years. And part of the reasons for their success in recent years ties into the NFL draft. Now, when we look at their history over the past 3 years, they've had some big time hits, guys like Randall Cobb, their second round pick in 2011, another second round pick in 2013, Eddie Lacy. Those are two big time impact offensive players that they've been able to get outside of the first round in the past 3 years. You look at a guy like David Bakhtiari, their left tackle, who started pretty much all year on the blind side protecting Aaron Rodgers. He was a fourth round pick in this past year's draft. The Packers have done a good job, but it's not 100% a great job because they haven't gotten a lot of other contributions out of their past two draft classes except for Lacey and Bakhtiari out of that 2013 class. Their 2011 first round pick, Derek Sherrod, has been a complete and total bust. And then you look at guys like their 2012 first round pick, Nick Perry. There's still questions to be about whether he really even fits the scheme that they run in Green Bay, trying to run him as a 3-4 outside linebacker. And then their 2013 first round pick, Datone Jones, really didn't do much as a rookie. Now, maybe he'll do better this year as they're emphasizing speed and quickness more than size in their defensive scheme, but he didn't do a lot as a rookie, that's for sure. But when you look overall at the draft history of the Packers in recent years, this goes all the way back to having Aaron Rodgers fall into their laps in the first round in 2005 and pulling the trigger on him, sitting on him for a couple of years. So by the time Favre was gone, Aaron Rodgers steps right in, and you replace one franchise quarterback and future Hall of Fame quarterback with another franchise quarterback and future Hall of Fame quarterback in Aaron Rodgers. Now, in terms of this year's draft, the Green Bay Packers are sitting in okay position. They've got their first, their second, two third-round picks, one of them being a compensatory selection, a fourth-round pick, two fifth-round picks, a sixth-round pick, and a seventh-round pick. They've got a total of 9 picks. Now, the Green Bay Packers, like I said, have been kind of the cream of the crop in the NFC North over the past 5 years. Maybe you remove the Vikings 2009 season, but even that year, the Green Bay Packers still managed to make the playoffs. The key to this and the key to them continuing to be in that position where they are competitive in the NFC North year in and year out, and they are the team to beat in the NFC North year in and year out, which they still are now, and being a contender for the Super Bowl, is they're going to have to draft well again this year. Now, like I said, their 2013 draft class, you got some big hits with Eddie Lacy and David Bakhtiari, but Datone Jones is a big time question. Most of their 2012 draft class, outside of maybe Casey Hayward, is kind of questionable, and Nick Perry is still a big time question to me. They're going to have to do a good job in this draft. And it's kind of funny when you look at the Green Bay Packers. They're a team over the recent years that seem to get hit a lot by the injury bug. So depth becomes a very important thing for that organization because it's not a question of if they're going to have big injuries. It's how soon they happen and how many of them they happen. They had Randall Cobb out for a good portion of the season. Just as one example, you had Clay Matthews out for several games in 2013. So they seem to get cursed in a way by getting hit by the injury bug. And that's why it's important for this team to draft well here in 2014 because they have the star talent. They have the star power to be a contender, but they need to improve their depth on both sides of the football. In terms of their draft strategy, I think it's two things. It's speed on defense and depth on offense. I think both of those are critically important for the Green Bay Packers to address in this offseason. Look, I know a lot of people are sitting there and just focusing on the defensive side of the football, talking about how the Packers philosophically want to get smaller. They want to get quicker. They want to get faster. They want to get more aggressive. And yes, that is important because their defense was boo-boo last year. They were the 26th ranked defense in the NFL, and they just weren't very good at stopping people. but they also need some depth on offense. You're talking about the tight end position. If they even bring Jermichael Finley back into the fold, if he's even going to be able to play, what do you have at tight end? You let Evan Dietrich Smith, for some unexplained reason, leave via free agency to join the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The interior of that offensive line needs to be addressed. James Jones leaves via free agency. You could use another big target outside for Aaron Rodgers in that passing game at wide receiver. You could use a young backup quarterback that could be in place. That could be a better option than what a Tolzien was, or a Seneca Wallace was, or even what a Matt Flynn was. So there are needs on the offensive side of the football, especially from a depth standpoint. In terms of the overall positional kind of team needs heading into the 2014 NFL Draft for the Packers, I think safety is probably their number one need. Inside linebacker is another big need. They need somebody opposite A.J. Hawk and somebody that could potentially replace A.J. Hawk in a quickness in the next year or two and become that real presence in the middle of that 3-4 defense. They need to get stronger up the middle. There's no question about that. But on the offensive side of the football, they could use an impact player at tight end for an Aaron Rodgers. They could use a replacement for James Jones at wide receiver. Yes, they still have a nice wide receiving core with Jordy Nelson and a Randall Cobb and a Jarrett Boykin who stepped up and played nicely last year. But they still need that big kind of physical game-breaking wide receiver on the outside. What does it hurt to have another weapon for Aaron Rodgers? Because ultimately, that's your franchise. Ultimately, that's your identity if you're the Green Bay Packers. You have to do everything you can to put Aaron Rodgers in a situation, in a position to succeed as much as he can. They could also use depth at outside linebacker. Sure, they brought in a Julius Peppers. Sure, they have a Clay Matthews. Sure, they have other guys in the fold, like a Nick Perry and etc. But they could use another young pass rusher on the outside, because ultimately the 3-4 defense, you need those pass rushers on the outside that can get after it. And I don't know if the Packers have two guys that could really get after it from the outside linebacker position in the 3-4. They could use a young backup quarterback to groom potentially either as Aaron Rodgers' heir apparent, or just to have in the fold for a couple of years to provide more security, more safety net, just in case Aaron Rodgers goes down with another big injury. And again, they could use a center to replace what they lost in Evan Dietrich Smith. The Green Bay Packers are still the team to beat in the NFC North, but I will caution them in 2014, if they don't do well in this draft and they don't find some players that could come in and make an impact right away, they won't win the division this year. That much I can assure you.